We're going to do the new format, Scott. You ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to the Conjuror Community Lunchtime AMA, a weekly chance to go a little deeper with some of your favorite CC artists. I'm Ethan Fisher, Head of Customer Relations for Conjuror Community, brother of CC co-founder Aaron Fisher, and general magic adjacent layperson. Today we have CC favorite, world record holder, escape artist, and motivational speaker, and my friend Scott Hammell. Hey, Scott.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Scott Hammell here today. How you doing? I know I already asked you that. I'm going to ask you again. Oh, we do have some people here. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, and hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to join us. Happy to have you.
Oh, wow. Nathan Cranzo is here. He stole my heart.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Hey, Nathan, check out my Quadrophenia stuff. Pretty sweet. Okay.
I'm actually working on some Nate Cranzo stuff right now. I saw him lecture and got some of the goods, and it's hopefully going in the new show.
Good. Did you see the thing he did here?
No, not yet. I've actually been on a bit of a social media blackout where yesterday I posted for my girlfriend's birthday, but aside from that, I hadn't been on really since June 1st. So it's I've missed a lot of what's going on, and that's one of the downfalls of taking a social media break, is that you miss things like that. But yeah, I'll probably go on tonight and try to get caught up.
Well, just so you know, Conjuror Community isn't part of social media, but that's okay. Hey, he's got a whole coin workshop he did for us a couple weeks ago.
Oh, sweet. Nate's coin stuff is second to none. One
of those mega, 2.5 hour, things. You know how we do it.
Yep. Late into the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, totally. All right, so I know you've been here before, and I know we went over a bunch of things, but since I do want to turn this into an audio thing later, I just want to get the beginnings again from you. Just the first memories, the first, sparks you had of that this is the thing you wanted to do.
Yeah, totally. I got started when I was 12 years old. For me, it started with juggling, actually. And a few months into it, we had a great local busker carnival in the town that I grew up in. So this big international festival where acts come in from all over the world. And part of that was this fringe festival that they ran, where the winner would get a circle show with all of the other professionals. And I've only been juggling for literally 4 or 5 months, and I just wanted an audience. So I went to audition, but at that, I obviously didn't win, but at the audition, I met another juggler who was also a magician, and this amazing guy, Dan, he became my mentor and, started teaching me juggling stuff. Even though I was 12 years old, he invited me to the University of Waterloo Juggling Club, which was, for the size of the school, it had a pretty good following. And he just kept encouraging me, and he'd bring me out to shows and kind of teach me how to run a business. And then so in middle school, I started performing at birthday parties and festival shows. And I would make more money in middle school doing that than my friends who had paper routes. And then throughout high school, it was I'd do a 30-minute show and then get paid more than my friend working a week at Burger King. And then I started getting flown around the country and doing shows in Florida and Chicago and Barbados. And I was like, this is great. These clients are paying for my flight and my hotel. Then I do what I love, and then I get paid. And so that's when it was bing. And originally it kind of started as a desire to get into Cirque du Soleil. And then when I started learning more magic and started doing that, that really kind of captured me. And then throughout high school, I was very involved in student leadership. So I started seeing these amazing motivational speakers, and my really influential teacher was like, dude, just add some magic to a speech and you'll have this big market and you can travel the world. And so that's essentially what I did. And I haven't looked back since. I never went to university or college, but kind of in the back of my head, I knew that if this didn't work out, then I could, kind of go back and get an education with something. But, luckily I haven't needed to do that yet. So I'm very lucky.
Well, my next question was, did you go to college? So you answered that.
No.
Nathan says, hey, buddy, I miss you.
I miss you too, buddy.
But you made this jump, just from doing shows and everything to, your world record stuff, your stunt stuff. I mean, you know, just for the people who don't know who are listening for the first time, just explain, you know, that transition and some of the things you've done, some of the records you hold, you know, some of that kind of. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to get into speaking, but I, at the time, didn't really feel like I had anything to speak about. And so in high school, as a young magician studying people like, you know, Copperfield and Harry Houdini, my favorite stunt to watch was the suspension straitjacket escape. And I felt like in order to give myself a little bit of credibility, if I were to set a Guinness World Record, I would have a lot of things to talk about. And it's funny because I thought that, like, I had a very clear idea in my head of like, okay, I'm going to do this stunt and these are going to be the messages. And then I did the stunt, which was hanging upside down from a hot air balloon while locked in a straitjacket and chains. And I had a horrible training experience the day before the actual stunt, kind of doing the practice run. And so most of the messages that I've drawn from that experience come directly from that day instead of all of the kind of pre-programmed stuff that I thought I was going to get out of the stunt. And that kind of launched my career. That was a stunt that aired on Ripley's Believe It or Not. It was a Guinness World Record for the highest suspension straitjacket escape, which still, I don't think it's been broken since. And I set that one in 2003. And then I just realized that there was kind of this appetite for big stunts and doing a big magic related stunt every few years. So during that suspension straitjacket escape, I discovered that I was afraid of heights. And so I thought that an interesting project would be to overcome that fear by learning how to skydive. And when I realized how expensive skydiving was, I was like, okay, well, if I add a stunt element to this project of overcoming my fear, I can then write the entire experience off on my taxes. So I decided that I would jump out of an airplane while handcuffed to my waist. And so, you know, life savings, moved to California, learned to skydive. And then the drop zone, unfortunately, wasn't willing to let me do that stunt. It was a whole lot of back and forth over several weeks. But in the end, they were like, even if you do this successfully, you still could sue us for letting you do this. So they didn't end up letting me do that. So instead, I performed a card trick while skydiving, which was a record for the fastest moving card trick. Then when I got back to Canada, where I live, I found a drop zone who was willing to let me do the stunt, and I added the element of a blindfold as well. So I was blindfolded and handcuffed to the waist. And the idea was that I'd jump out of the airplane, open the handcuffs, open my parachute, and then land it blindfolded. And as far as I know, I was the first person to do that. But that was a wild experience. There was a whole lot going on with that. And then I did the bullet catch in 2015 for a feature-length documentary. That was a wild experience because I was working with a guy that had never fired a gun and thought that because magic is fake, that you didn't need to practice anything or invest in anything into it. I juggled live explosives. I've performed Houdini's milk can escape. What else? I'm trying to think of the other stuff that I've done, but that's probably a list of the major wacky stuff that's turned its way into speeches and whatnot.
It's all on YouTube, like everything. And there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to go through. There's lots of injuries. There's lots of healing from injuries.
Yep. And there's graphic stuff. So if you're not into seeing, like the major graphic one that's up there, I think is the incident while I was trying to juggle the live explosives and severely burned my hand. I do have a censored version of that just because I really burned my hand badly, and it's a very graphic video. But if you're into that, I also took a couple pictures of my hand every day and kind of edited them together so that you could see the healing process. So if you're into that gory, nasty stuff, then that's there for you too.
Now, what year was that?
I think that was 2012, I want to say. It was 2011. There was a year between when I burned my hand really badly and then I actually did the proper version that was highly produced, where we had really expensive cameras and a cinematographer, and I had music recorded for that project and everything. Whatever the release date is on the YouTube video, which I think was 2012, might have been 2013, a year before that is when I burned myself really badly.
And just to be clear, Mark Clearview did do that to you.
No, he was there filming for that practice round. He was like a few feet away from me. We put a GoPro on his helmet. And with that stunt, I was trying to shoot it really kind of guerrilla style and just invited a bunch of friends to this big park in the middle of downtown Toronto in the middle of the night. We kind of spread out around the park with cell phone cameras. But the lesson that I learned from that stunt was that if you want it to look guerrilla style, you shoot it in really good quality and then edit it in post-production to make it look like it's guerrilla style. So most of the video that we shot is just horrible. But when I burned my hand, I was juggling Roman candle fireworks. And when I burned my hand, I dropped them on the ground and couldn't control where they landed. And so they started firing in random directions. And Mark came within centimeters of getting hit right in the face with one of those fireballs from the out of control fireworks. So he was there doing me a solid, and he came with me to the hospital, and that was a really wild experience. But no, he did not do that to me. In fact, he was probably there beforehand trying to talk me out of it.
You know, the day that something happens to that face is the day that the Canadian flag's lower at half-mast. That's for sure.
That's it. Yep. It's the moneymaker.
Yeah, right. So I'm very interested in this. When did something clicked before that, obviously, that, you know, the content is king and you need to have it and you need to have a lot of it, so everything is filmed all the time. Talk a little bit about that and that realization. And you're kind of ahead of the curve in that, because that's kind of only in the past 10 years or so that's not for everyone.
For me, the film everything applies mostly to the stunts, because, I mean, that was a good example of when things go wrong, film all of it so that you can do something with that footage after. Because people are often, I find, like, I had a one-man show that I did last year or 2 years ago, I guess now, where it was like all of these stunts and kind of the story of each of them and how it arced to kind of fabricate my life, basically. And one thing that I found that was interesting upon looking back at that one-man show is that almost all of the stories were about the pre or post stunt. It wasn't the actual stunt. The interesting guts of the show came from the kind of other parts. And so if you have something that goes really wrong, for instance, the disastrous practice run of the hot air balloon stunt, when the cameras are rolling, you can do something with that footage. So that for me is the content is king. But in terms of the kind of contemporary version of that, I'm horrible with social media. I'm not on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Instagram, but I haven't used it in a couple of months. And, you know, a lot of people are often like, oh, content, just get it out. And I'm more of the kind of David Blaine philosophy of like, I'm going to wait and do one thing every year or two, and I'm going to try to make it look really good or feel really good. So I would say I'm actually a bad example of that. Now, a couple of years ago, I did a project where every day I strapped a GoPro to my chest and juggled in front of it and tried to kind of have the background something interesting, and then edited together so that the juggling pattern just kind of never stopped. And that was like a monthly release, but that's about as close as I've gotten in terms of like regular content. Every time I have this project in mind of like, oh, I'm putting together a new show, I'm going to do a lot of behind the scenes footage to try to build some hype, and then I just get so invested in the show, and yeah, I don't know, I get sidetracked and don't often end up doing that.
We do have a question from the crowd.
Sure.
Mark, I'm not available today. Clearview has a question for you.
He's not available, but then he comes and tunes in.
The show. Yeah, that's right. He's one of those guys. He wants to know how you get your hair like that. We won't talk about his hair. We won't talk about his hair right now at all.
No, this is COVID hair. My brother's actually a barber, and so I have access to to haircuts when I want them. But no, I started liking the hair as it was growing out, and I'm at this weird in between. My hair's never been this long. And so I kind of wanted to see what would happen if I kept it growing, just because I don't have a ton of shows right now. And so, yeah, it's kind of more of an experiment than anything, but my hair's never been this long. It's kind of awkward and uncomfortable now. So I'm actually quite tempted to get it cut down at least a little bit. But I feel like if I keep growing it a little bit, I can get a sense of what it looks like even longer. So I might as well just kind of keep that going for now. It's wild.
I think it's a good philosophy. For a while, I was doing the beard thing, just letting it grow. And, as the temperature rises, it's got to come off a little bit.
Totally. A big, thick beard in the winter is actually really nice. And if you trim it midway through, you realize how much it was insulating your face. But in the summer months, it gets hot.
And we're doing a lot of home haircuts at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those make for good family memories. My dad used to cut my hair when I was a kid, and the vibration of the trimmers would always make me give me shivers down my spine, and I would move quick enough that my ear would get caught, and he'd always cut my ears with the trimmers. And so my pillow in the morning would always have blood all over it after my family haircuts. And now my brother cuts my hair. I guess it's family tradition now. So
when I was younger, I worked for my father. Now I work for my brother. Hey.
There you go.
All right. So Mark has another. I like taking Mark's questions because, they're fun. He wants to know. Hold on 1 second. Oh, he's got a couple. Here we go. George Madrid says hi, by the way.
Hey, George. I was going to say good to see you, but I can't see you. But glad to know you're there.
We don't have to ask him about haircuts. That's for sure. No, George, I love you. I love you, George.
Keeps it bald, which is good.
He's doing the Walter White. That's for sure.
I've thought about shaving my hair just with my receding hairline, and I don't know that I've got the right head shape for a good bald look.
I think for me, it doesn't matter whether it's going to look good or not. I think it's just a matter of time at this point.
Yeah.
Just like everything that this virus situation has brought up, it's making it go faster. That's for sure.
Totally.
Mark Clearview wants to know what it's like to be a millionaire magician.
Especially during COVID. I'm really busy with shows. They're paying a lot right now. So, the hardest part of all of these busy COVID shows is maintaining my status as a tourist attraction, which, killer industry. And then the hardest part is where I'm going to spend my money. It's like, what European cities do I want an extra summer home? Where do I want to spend my winters? Down south, I was thinking Costa Rica maybe, or Belize perhaps, or, south of France. So yeah, the hardest part about being a multimillionaire magician is just where I'm going to spend my money and what car I want to drive today. And,
George Madrid, thanks you for leaving the island for this interview. And last one from Mark, because I'm not going to entertain him anymore. I will let you know that yesterday I sent him the same email I sent you, but first I prefaced it with the fact that I found my 25th anniversary Back to the Future poster.
Oh man, Mark would love that.
Such a fan of that. And then I asked him for his address, and he thought it was to send him the poster.
Oh, you young, naive bastard.
I was sending him something else, something on which I'm not allowed to talk about, something else.
Awesome. Well, Mark, what I pitched Ethan when he sent me the request to see if I was around today was the idea of you and I just sharing disastrous show stories, because I'm doing a podcast interviewing other performers and artists about their disastrous show experiences, not only live on stage, but getting to shows and, film sets and stuff like that. And Mark was kind enough when he was here a few weeks ago, we recorded an interview with that. And I have so much fun talking to performers about that. And, Mark shared another show experience that was kind of a disaster from a show he did online last week. So I thought that would make for a very entertaining show today, but he was obviously busy, but not really if he's watching this.
And I would like you to interview me about disaster shows for when I talk to him on this, please.
Perfect.
Okay, great. No, it was fun. Hey, George Madrid says he's skipping a work meeting to be here. Greg Chase said hi. Greg Chase actually sent me a gift the other day.
Ooh, fancy.
It is fancy. This is
A Harry Potter stick?
a magic wand, hand carved. It's beautiful.
That looks awesome.
It's something called Purple Dragon Stone. I don't know if he wants me to show it, but here it is. Expected.
That's awesome.
It is cool. But thank you very much, Greg. I love it. And I told my son, this is not his. He's taking every magic wand I bring home. This one is mine.
One day, son, this will all be yours, but for right now.
One day it's all a magic wand and 2 DVDs. Okay.
Mark just sent me a WhatsApp saying that he's actually busy. He's currently in 2 different meetings right now. So it sounds to me like we've got a lot of people who are happy to procrastinate from things that they should be doing. But I'm glad they're here.
He does have one more. I like to keep going with his, even though Michael Sproul has a real question. But before I ask that,
Michael's here too. This is great. I wish I could see everybody.
They can't see us. So, well, yes, they can, but we can't see them.
Right.
But I'm your only conduit. I'm sorry. What is
it's good looking. It's good.
What's the terrible monster rope routine?
The terrible monster rope routine is the hardest that I've ever made Mark laugh. And I had this, so I'm putting together this new show that's, it's really wacky, off the wall, very bizarre stuff that I've never tried before. And I like the direction that it's going. But it's a show about all of the inspirations for different pieces of magic and stuff, and where that inspiration comes from. And so I'm taking, clips of podcasts and movie quotes and songs that I like, and, just random mix mashes of things, and kind of piecing together how this song might have inspired this piece of magic or this quote or whatever. And so one of my favorite children's books is Leonardo, the Terrible Monster. And I thought that I would use the kind of structure of that for a piece of rope magic. And Mark was here a few weeks ago for a week where we were trying to, just keep each other inspired and get out of the monotony of isolation and stuff. Excuse me. And I pitched him this idea for this rope routine, and it made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And he was so confused by it. And he just ended by saying, I ended by saying, I guess I just have to put it together and show you. He's like, I guess I just have to see it. But he was so confused at how stupid this routine sounded. And in my head, it was so clear. But when I was trying to verbalize it, it just made absolutely no sense. But I don't think I've ever made him laugh harder than telling him where I thought this routine was going. So that's, it's a horrible rope magic routine with the worst story that goes along with it, but we'll see if it has legs. He's planning on coming over for another week in the next couple of weeks. So my goal is to have that routine ready for him.
Well, let me know when you guys are together. I'll have you on at the same time.
That'd be awesome.
Love that. I guess it was so shocking that it turned his hair white, but not shocking enough to take care of his mustache with the color.
No, with his mustache pop, but and it's unfortunate. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Never mind.
No. We'll stop talking about him when he's not here. We'll talk about what Freddie Mercury would have looked like if he had lived later. Okay, so Michael Sproul would like to know what's next on the world record target for you. What's your next world record target?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I don't know if it's going to be a world record, but I've had 2 different stunts planned for a while. The stunts that I'm doing after the bullet catch, it's like, where do you go? So the stunts that I've kind of planned for after that were a lot more kind of a social reason for doing that. I did one of those style stunts several years ago. I think that would have been in 2011, where I lived in a glass box, middle of downtown Toronto for a week, and basically challenged the public to make the magician disappear by bringing canned food donations that piled so high around the box that I vanished. And then we donated all the food to the local food bank and tried to make local hunger disappear.
It's an amazing video, by the way. It's an amazing video.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a really cool project, and I had so much fun doing that. And I've wanted to do more. And actually, one of the ways that we were set to promote the feature documentary that we did for the bullet catch, we had like $150,000 budget for this big stunt where I was going to do a buried alive stunt, but it was a kind of clean water campaign to give people access to clean drinking water overseas. And the idea was that every time someone donated money, we took a scoop out of the 6 feet of dirty water that I was buried under. We then purified it, clean enough to drink, and then the idea is that I would be kind of unburied alive. There's another variation of a buried alive stunt that I've got that I think will be a little bit less expensive to run, but it was unfortunate because the network that aired that documentary that bought the rights to it about 6 months after airing it went bankrupt, and they pulled our they were going to put $100,000 into this stunt, and then we had 2 other people who were going to do $25,000 each, and so this big budget. And when they took their money out, all of the other sponsors, I guess for lack of a better term, pulled their money out. So I didn't end up getting to actually do that buried alive stunt. But while we were designing that, we kind of came up with this other buried alive stunt that I'm really excited about. It won't cost as much money, but it's still quite expensive. And I'm just trying to partner up with the right organization who can say, yeah, hey, we want to be involved with this. We'll pay for the physical thing to be built. And then you do the stunt, we'll advertise and try to raise a whole bunch of money for a clean drinking water project. So what I'm trying to do, instead of kind of, I don't know, exploiting the danger of the stunt, I'm trying to take existing stunt ideas and kind of giving them a social reason for doing them that's very clear. Like David Blaine tried to do it with his electricity stunt, but it was the connection of A to B of like what this means and how it affects like electricity with this kids charity. Just, it was very convoluted to me. So I want to make it a lot more kind of cohesive, and that's the idea of the direction that I want to kind of take this stuff. What I've been pushing lately, though, since the bullet catch, is the emotional push. Instead of the dangerous element, is like doing storytelling where I have no magic props to hide behind, and it's just, you know, my thoughts, my ideas, my memories, and a microphone, and I'm really just kind of putting myself out there in a more vulnerable way, if that makes sense. And so that's been a big push that it pushed me a lot more than I was expecting that it would when compared to the stunts.
I know we were talking about Mike Birbiglia earlier. Do you know who Chris Gethard is?
No.
Look up his HBO thing, Chris Gethard. I don't know if you watch Broad City.
Not yet.
Oh my God, I just found it last week. It's literally one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. He's on it too. I'm just throwing that name out there for the thing
Awesome.
You're talking about. It's really good.
Sweet. I heard you're auctioning off your movie poster.
Oh yeah, my 25th anniversary. Here's what Clearview doesn't know. I went with my wife. We have 2.
2 wives?
2 wives. So that's three posters. No, I have 2 posters, and she doesn't care. So he might get a poster.
He would wet himself, I'm sure.
If he comes on the show, but whatever. I really just want to talk about, sorry everybody, I'm going to say this again. I really just want to talk about Teen Wolf with him for 2 hours because I could do that.
Have you seen him with the beard? Anytime he would join us in Zoom calls and stuff, and be like, Teen Wolf has entered the Zoom. So with the beard, he looks like Teen Wolf.
He made some very questionable picture choices after the last time we spoke. I also saw him looking at Boardwalk. This is not the Mark Clearview interview podcast. This is not what that is. Could be.
It should be, because I love talking about him. He's just the best dude and has more talent than anyone I've ever met, probably. But anyways,
now that he told me who his hero is, I see through a lot more of his stuff, but that's okay. We won't mention it here. But I'm sorry, one more. I did see him doing something on the boardwalk in Toronto. Like licking a boardwalk in Toronto or getting on his hands and knees. It was a COVID thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, it's funny. I was hanging out with him when a bunch of stuff was happening. My girlfriend is a nurse, and he borrowed some, like, an IV bag and a hospital gown or something from her for a video, and then it got on the news because somebody leaked a behind the scenes thing of it that out of context looked really bad. But I actually haven't seen the final product of that because, again, I haven't been on social media, and I don't think he sent it to me. So,
well, my biggest takeaway was I did not know Canada had boardwalks of any kind.
Yeah, we're getting electricity actually next month apparently, so that should be exciting.
Oh, come on.
I don't know how we're gonna if it's gonna be electric heat in our igloos, but I'm excited.
No, you're not. Okay. All right, and I found some random magician questions on the internet. Okay. So I'm just going to read them. Do you ever you do mostly like talks with people, right? So do you ever have heckler problems? And if you do, how would you deal with it?
That's a good question. And actually, so much of my performing market is high school and college market stuff. So it's funny. I don't have hecklers in terms of the, like, people yelling you suck, but they'll yell things to try to, like, add to the show, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of an example of that. If I'm doing like a straitjacket escape, they'll yell something like dislocate your shoulder or something like that, where they're not yelling hateful things at me. It's just kind of about what I'm doing because they're invested in it. I've been performing for over 20 years, so I've had the, like, you suck moments for sure. Don't get me wrong. I just find that now a lot of the quote unquote heckling is not hurtful. It's observational, if that makes sense.
It's Canadian. It's Canadian heckling.
I perform all over the world. So I've experienced this in, Malaysia and Europe and South America and, all over the place. But, and even the audiences in the States, I don't find I've ever really had that. Again, it's been that kind of observational heckling, but I try my best to stay very in the moment and obviously keep it very PG of what I'm going to say. Like, there are the classic lines of, I don't come and slap the sailors, out of your mouth while you're working, so stop bothering me while I'm working. I don't ever do that kind of stuff, but I have definitely called people out in terms of, like, wow, that's bold. You obviously want some attention. Why don't you come up in front of all of these people? I'll give you the microphone and you can have all the attention that you want. And that usually, like, shuts them down pretty quick, but it's like, hey, you asked for this, so here you go. Here's exactly what you want. And now you're not going to take me up on that? Okay, how about we get back to the show? And then everybody seems to be fine.
I did that to Aaron so much that he said, here, Friday afternoons, go.
Awesome. And here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. So George Madrid literally wanted me to say that Mark is the funniest person he's ever met, literally.
Yep.
And he's pretty close to it.
I would agree with that. Mark is one of those people as well who, yesterday I was doing the dishes, and I don't know, I'm sure you remember his show from Conjuror, from Memphis. It wasn't Memphis, Tupelo. Last Conjuror Community. Man, it feels like I'm in a time warp with all this COVID stuff. Yeah. But I was just thinking of the bit that he did where he had the older woman think of something and he sketched it out. And I keep thinking about, like, he never he screws that trick up on purpose, but he never addresses what she was actually thinking. And I was just doing the dishes yesterday thinking to myself, I still wonder what that woman was actually thinking. And Mark is, on the surface, he's very funny, but his stuff is so well crafted that you'll think about it in different layers, months later. So yeah, he's really, really funny and very talented. And he's a perfect example of somebody who's so in the moment when he performs that he's just on another level. So
the same attention jacker, George Madrid, who gave him that great compliment, also wants to continue to jack the attention, which is fine because we love you, George, and say Scott is one of the most gifted, multi-talented people I've ever met.
Well, I don't know about that, especially because George works for Google and he's surrounded by geniuses all the time and I'm a friggin' idiot. So, right. But George, you're very sweet. Thank you. And I will PayPal you $25 for sending me that compliment publicly. Thank you.
I tried to make a joke once after we had a long conversation. I said, I'll put in a Google Doc. I can tell you how they work if you want me to. And he didn't think it was funny. Anyway, okay. If you're in a non-performance situation, do you always carry something? Do you have a go-to just in case? Do you have a deck of cards? And no, or just no?
No, I find for me, this speaks to my actual talent, George. The less I do, the better it seems I am at what I do. Which, yeah, no, they're definitely, like, I've always got a pack of cards in my car. I usually have a couple of coins kicking around there too, just because actually after watching Nate Kranzo work some coin stuff, that's kind of what inspired me to get into some coin stuff. But like if I'm going to a party or something, no, generally not. I mean, sometimes if I'm in the mood, I might have a pack of cards. But yeah, no, I find that I've seen many people over the years overdo it with cards or coins or elastic bands or whatever they're doing at parties, where it starts by like, hey, you're a magician, show me a trick. And then the group like comes over, everybody's impressed, and then they just keep going and going and going. And then by the end of the night, the magician's just sitting by themselves playing with cards, and it's very sad. So I've really looked up to people who do one killer trick and then put the cards away and enjoy it. And then it seems like the mystique of what this magician could possibly do is so much better than, the magic show kind of petering out to one volunteer, one audience member, and then it's just sad. So, yeah.
Right on. What's becoming my signature question I ask everyone on the show is, can you use hypnosis to commit murder?
I don't think so. I mean, you could use anything as an excuse, and I think that it's the same way a lot of people will use alcohol as an excuse. I mean, I've never been drunk in my life, but
I'm not asking you how to murder somebody.
I'm trying to say that, like, I know that there are people that get blackout drunk and don't know what they're doing, but I've also seen people who I know aren't at that level, but will use alcohol as an excuse for really sloppy decisions that they're making. And sure. I think that hypnosis could be the same, where somebody could do something really bad and then blame hypnosis as like, oh, I was totally out of control. And it's like, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So, you were in control of what you were doing here. So yeah, I don't think so. But,
so you can't hypnotize a person and make them go kill somebody?
No, but I do think that there are certain levels of, mental manipulation and abuse and control that I certainly think are, like, look at the Manson family murders and, cults and how much horrific stuff they do as a result of, like, this constant beatdown of their conscious decision making. I don't know that that's necessarily hypnosis. I'm sure there are kind of some overlaps, but I don't think that it's, as simple as like, I'm going to snap my fingers, you're going to fall asleep. Now when I snap my fingers, you're going to take this gun and shoot that person. I don't think it's quite as black and white as that. Although Darren Brown did have a great special seeing if he could do that based on, was it the Sirhan assassination. He wanted to see if he could do that and kind of staged everything to assassinate Stephen Fry. It was
yeah,
it was a great special, but
I want to check that out. That sounds good.
yeah.
But Columbo lied to me, it seems like. All right. So do you ever watch Inside the Actor Studio?
Yes.
All right. So I've basically stolen this next whole set from James Lipton. I've taken that questionnaire he asked everybody, and I've added the word magic to some of them.
Well, don't worry that you've stolen it from him, because I'm pretty sure he stole that from somebody else. I don't think that that's his original
I
thing.
would say the name, but then it would just be me trying to do a poor Will Ferrell imitation, and I'm not going to do it.
Fair enough.
But not pivot. No, I'm not going to do it. What's your favorite magic word?
Like if I'm trying to build the suspense and add a magic word to make the magic happen.
That's what I think they mean, but it could be whatever you think it is.
I think I say all right a lot, and I say here we go a lot.
Okay.
It's a very disappointing answer, though.
Well, no, it's not. What's your least favorite magic word?
I hope this works. I don't like when magicians preface their trick by saying, I don't know if this is going to work, or I don't practice this enough, unless it's like a sucker routine to kind of build that this guy doesn't really know what he's doing, and then it amplifies the sucker routine. I just don't like when people are like, oh, I don't know that this is going to work because you're the first person I've shown this to. It's like, just show me the damn trick. I'm happy to watch.
So no prefaces with how bad this is going to be.
Yeah, I think that's more of a contemporary magic word, because I just don't think I see as many magicians with like abracadabra and then something happens. But
Right on. What gets you excited magically when you see a performer do something, or, what kind of feeling they see something do gets you really hyped up to see what they're going to do?
that's a great question. I love seeing... Oh man, I've got a few answers to this. I love seeing stuff that's really old in a really contemporary setting. So somebody doing something really cool with like a top hat, where the prop of the top hat alone is kind of interesting because people just don't wear them all the time, but then seeing something cool with that. I love seeing really good comedy magic where the comedy to me is just as exciting as the magic itself. And then when you think about the routine later, and people like Nate Cranzo and Mark Clearview, and they're great examples of comedy magicians who their magic almost doesn't get enough respect because they're so talented as comedians that you forget that the magic that they're doing is actually quite good as well. That gets me really excited because it's, again, that layer of, holy smokes, he actually kind of fooled me with that magic, in addition to being so funny that I was broadsided by it.
Nice. So well done comedy magic, basically, right?
Yes. I don't like the magicians that call themselves comedy magicians, that it's like you're taking all of the jokes from the packet magic trick that you bought and just recycling these old lines and gags that are, sexist and misogynist and, 70 years old. And it's like, that doesn't make you a comedy magician, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you have a favorite magical curse word?
What are there restrictions to what I can and can't say?
No.
I think the word that I always say in my head is pickle, because it's like angry at the beginning, but then pickle doesn't make sense with what it is, and it's kind of a way to lighten the first part. I know that first word offends a lot of people, unless you're in the UK, in which case it's kind of a term of endearment. But I don't often say it out loud, but I'll think it when something bad happens.
You know what's funny? You asked me if I could say anything, and in my brain I said, Ethan, right now you could say the C word. Tell him not to say the C word, but he'll never say that anyway.
There it is. Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. Pickle was threw me for a loop. I didn't expect it.
Most people don't see that coming. If I do say it out loud amongst my closest friends, like when I'm driving or whatever, then yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
It's a good one. And I find
to
that
use later or to edit. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people that have heard me say it will start to use it. It's addictive.
Yeah, it's a good one. And the language, it hasn't gotten that bad, but the language that we use around here, around the kid, is really, COVID has accelerated everything.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. Oh, God, the movies he's seen. Anyway, if you weren't doing what you do now during the normal times, the speaking, the headlining, the magic, what would you be doing?
Another great question. I'm really I love being on film sets, whether I'm doing like body double work or helping just, be an extra set of hands or producing. I love kind of being around creative film sets and, spitballing ideas and noticing things like, hey, what if, how about we shoot it like this or whatever. So that I could see myself doing. I'm also really fascinated. I'm not very good at it, but I would love to learn about lighting design. And beyond that, beyond the theater element of it, I'm really fascinated by like landscape lighting and architectural lighting. So how buildings are lit to accentuate and create different looks. Again, I'm not good with that, but I'm very fascinated and I could see myself wanting to learn all about it and get into that.
Have you done body double work?
Yeah, for a couple movies and music videos and stuff, for some stunts, and there was a movie that I did a few years ago, body doubling for Ryan Quanten, who is in True Blood, but his character at one point has a couple scenes where he's juggling, so they put me in a wig and shot me from behind, and like it was my hands either under his juggling, so the camera, like, it looked like he was juggling, you couldn't see his hands, or if you could see his hands, it was me from behind or whatever. So body doubling with that. I've done some hands and shuffling music videos, like shuffling cards and dealing cards and stuff. Some skydiving stunts for a music video and for a TV show a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one, if the Sanctum Sanctorum does exist, what would you like to hear Vernon say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You needed to practice more.
Yeah.
It's funny. I often look at really clean magic and think like Vernon would love that. Although when I'm practicing the stuff that I do, I often don't get myself to that level of like, that would probably impress Vernon. So I think it would be fun to hear my inner monologue verbalized at that point.
Well, thanks for answering those. And I'm going to give you a big old thanks for coming to the show.
Of course.
And this is going to be my big old, wait 2 seconds. That was my fake end to the podcast part of the show. So I'm going to fade out there because the rest of it's visual, okay?
Perfect. Oh, yeah, because I was going to ask about that one that I just thought we ran out of time. But
No. Because I'm going to do this. This is a section we like to call Explain Yourself. I haven't figured out a better word for it, but we're going to, I'm going to show some Instagrams that you've posted, and I'm just going to want some answers on some of them. I'm going to share my screen.
I'm curious where this is going to go because I'm very bad at posting and don't often put proper thought into it.
And
although I will say that a lot of the pictures that I don't post are way more incriminating. Oh, yeah, okay. So that was Halloween of this year. I dressed up as Dwight Schrute, going out for a social outing where he's wearing the wolf T-shirt, the wolves howling at the moon, and it's to suggest sex, as he would say. Very suggestive. But it's funny because I have developed a reputation in my neighborhood. I try to be the house that hands out full-size chocolate bars. That was always a life goal of mine. It's like, when I buy my house, I want to be that guy that hands out full-size chocolate bars. So I did, and some kids actually recognize me for that, and I'll often have like, full setup and do magic and stuff. And this year I opened the door and answered it as Dwight and would offer them beats. And most kids, I don't think kids that age are into The Office. The parents all got it, but the kids definitely didn't, and were super bummed when I tried to give them beats at first before revealing that I did actually, in fact, have proper sized chocolate bars for them.
Okay.
I grew my hair out for that Halloween costume. Before this COVID, that was the longest that my hair had ever been. And I grew it out for like, I think 3 or 4 months, knowing that I wanted to do that hard center part like Dwight has.
And you haven't continued with that, I see, though.
No, my hair is, as it turns out, is super curly. Like, it looks like I've got my hair in a curling iron. When I think I just got out of the shower, put product in it immediately, and like hard parted it, and it kind of stayed straight enough. So that's a picture of
Speaking
my
of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a picture of my brother in the middle, who's a barber, and my dad. That's at one of his barber shops in Toronto. So yeah, obviously my brother hasn't cut my hair in a very long time, but yeah, that's my brother and my dad, 2 of the greatest men on the face of the planet. They are just, yeah, I do not have enough good things to say about those 2. They're
right on.
Spectacular. I'm very, very lucky.
Who are those ugly dudes?
Yes, that was Mark and I went to Vegas a few years ago to celebrate Mark's 21st birthday. My mentor took me to Vegas for my 21st birthday, and when Mark and I became friends, I'd always talk about like, well, you know, my mentor did that with me. I want to, you know, take you to Vegas for your 21st birthday. And so we saw a bunch of different shows. Penn and Teller was, I think, birthday or Christmas present for Mark. And then we stuck around after. The nice thing about that picture is that Penn and Teller come out after their show and meet everybody and take pictures and stuff. But it's actually kind of rare to get them together for a picture. I've seen them probably a few dozen times, and usually one of them will finish a lot earlier than the other and then just go back into their dressing room to get changed and stuff. So that was the first time out of probably dozens of times that I've seen them where I got a picture with both of them in the same shot.
It's great. Now just take Mark and put his hair that he has today on him, and how would that picture look?
He would, I don't know that Penn would have had the courage to put his arm around him, but maybe.
Okay, this next one is very, it needs to be explained.
Okay. Oh man. Yeah, I was driving home from a show, and I had a Perrier in my car waiting for after the show. I try to not drink Perrier before a show or during a show because obviously it's carbonated and I don't want to belch all over the place. But that was a hot summer day, so the gas bubbles, I guess, expanded, and when I opened it, it sprayed all over my car. Like that was, you know, 2 pictures that I took that kind of went together, but my windshield was covered, my windows were covered. Like it was almost like one of those fireworks that sprays in a circle. And yeah, I'm glad it was on the way home from the show and not to the show, but I was stuck in traffic and just, I was soaked after that.
And you, like most of your pictures are black and white.
Yeah, I started just trying to make my stuff consistent in some way or another. I don't know when I started doing that, but yeah.
What a boring shot if not in black and white.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be anything. Could be blood, could be whatever.
Yep.
This next one, I know what it is. I don't know if other people will know what it is, but this is the last one. Take me down memory lane here.
Oh God. Oh, crisscross. Growing up, my brother, his name is Chris, and he was the older, cooler brother. And when Crisscross came on the scene, Chris Smith and Chris Kelly, from what I remember, they started this trend where everybody would go around wearing their clothes backwards. They called it Totally Crossed Out, which I think was the name of the record. But they would wear their shirts backwards and they would put their pants on backwards. And I'm trying to remember maybe the caption, because this was a long time ago that I posted that. I don't know if you have a date on that post, but
no.
if it's posted in color, it's at least probably a couple years old. And I remember posting that, but I have to read the caption. But I might have put something on backwards by mistake and then posted that.
Okay. I remember watching them the night they came on in living color.
Yep.
And the next day, kids were wearing stuff backwards.
Yeah. Oh, it took off for sure.
Yeah. And I just remember their Sprite commercial, S to the P-R-I-T-E.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Chris
Yeah.
Paul-
There was that clip in the middle of their record where the guy's like, I don't understand youth these days. Unzip your butt to take a leak. And like, just, yeah, one of those things that kids were doing that parents just don't understand, as Will Smith would say, back to that same era.
Nice. Well, that was cool. That's basically the show, except for the last part. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Yeah, we'll get Mark on here because I don't know, hearing him tell disaster stories about shows is so funny to me.
Yeah, and I need to let him talk. Last time it became about Michael J. Fox for an hour, and which is fun, but
he'll talk about Michael J. Fox for hours if you let him. So
I would love to. Scott, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Anytime.
That's lunch. We did it. Hey, everybody, have a good weekend. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Bye.